what we're going to cover is, let me close this bit out, so it's covering this bit. So this is pretty much the objectives, right? So we're going to go over some programming building blocks. We're going to go over object-oriented programming, the two concepts at least. We're going to cover encapsulation and inheritance. And there's one thing that you probably noticed here, which I didn't talk about before. Was that Isa? What's this going to be? It's Isa. Is that another name for Jesus or what? So it's basically is A and has A, which I'm going to explain more on. Who knows what that is? Is A and has A. It wasn't a misspelling of Hassan, no, I missed it. And don't get that wrong. So well, who knows what the difference is?
Two types of inheritance. One
Yeah,
is
something to do with inheritance.
a part, and one is kind of.
Yeah, so if we're thinking of a car is a type of vehicle, isn't it? It's a vehicle, so it is a vehicle, but a car has a steering wheel. The steering wheel doesn't inherit from the car. Part of the car is a steering wheel, so that's pretty much. Well, I'm going to cover that as well. We're going to talk about the main method, because like last week someone was saying, right, how do you create instance on an object? And I didn't have time to demonstrate it. So I'm going to talk about the main method, class application. And we're going to cover the basic stuff that we need for this application we're going to build, right? It's good that some of you have laptops and you can start coding afterwards as well. So we're going to look at printing to the screen, which is pretty much the basics, right? So print line, printf, and J option pane. We're going to cover that. We're going to look at taking input from the user. There's two types that we're going to use. We're going to use scanner and J option pane. You can use any of them if you want. But when I did the exam, I used both, just to demonstrate I can do both. And we're going to look at the actual objective of this project. And I want a quick introduction into UML, and then we're going to start building the application. Does that sound fair? Is that a lot, or you ready for it? Let's do it. Right. The four building blocks, which I covered before, is the condition. You've got condition, which is if. So if something is true, so if salary is greater than £1,000, do something. So this is just a metaphor. It's not real code or anything. So just do something, or else do something else. So that's the condition. That's the first building block. We've got four to cover, and then the second one is loops. And in loops, we've actually got four different types of loops. We've got the while loop, that's the syntax there. While x is less than 10, do something. Keep repeating until x is, meets that condition, or it doesn't meet that condition, it exits that loop. And then you've got the for loop, which is the most popular loop that's used in programming. We start by initializing the variable. So we say I equals 0. And then while I is pretty much the same up there, while I is less than 10, do the loop and then increment I by 1 each time. So it's going to count to 10 and then it's going to exit, starting from 0. Next one is for each, which I did explain last week. It's used in arrays and database. So for each x in y, so basically for every single element inside y, which could be an array, do something. So basically add 10%. Maybe you want to increase everyone's salary by 10%. So you say, right, for each record, increment, change it or increase it by 10%. So it's very useful in arrays and database. The third building block in programming is called a switch. The syntax for that is you say switch and then you put the variable in the middle and then you open it with a bracket. This is called the building block, which I explained before. And then you say the cases. So I put only one here and after that before. So you've got case 1, do something. So like say for example, case I equals 1, do something. Case I equals 2, do something else. And every time you do that, you use the break at the end. Otherwise, if none of these conditions are met, you use if default. So this is just anything outside. And then obviously when you do a building block, you always open the curly brace and close it at the end. The last building block is called exceptions, and we use that for error handling. So you try something, and maybe you want to try to divide by 0, and if you divide by 0, it causes an error, doesn't it? So you want to divide the number by something, and if it's causing an error, don't crash the program, catch that error and do something about it, like do something else. maybe here you could try to connect to a database, and the database is down for some reason, you can't connect. Just catch that error and maybe save it to a file or do something else. Or tell the user, look, I can't connect to a database, you know, we'll try something else. So these are the 4 building blocks, very easy, and this is common in C. The syntax is exactly the same, pretty much all the languages that I know of anyway, and that's pretty much the C syntax as well. So if you know that, you know C language. Just a few minor other stuff you can learn yourself, but that's the basic building blocks in the non-object as well as the object.